Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Thriving Talk. This is our 55th episode of Thriving Talk, and we are excited to be back with you all. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. A little tired after some travels, but overall, no complaints. As I think one of my coworkers used to say, better than I deserve.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to be back and talk about an important topic today.
Right. Hopefully, you'll feel better, and we'll talk about your travels in some other episode. But a quick reminder that Thriving Talk is available on all the different platforms like Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, all the different mediums. So make sure to follow or subscribe to Thriving Talk on your favorite platform to stay tuned to the different episodes that come out. So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. So our topic today is called secrecy. And in today's world, what is secrecy? And what does it mean in today's world? It's something you don't talk about that.
I think secrecy is very challenging and tough in today's world,
Right.
especially in the social media world, right?
Right.
It's very, and I think there is something where people want to show off and brag about what they are doing or what they did. So it's very challenging on the onset. Let me say that. If you go to some of the social media platforms, you see people are crazy, right?
Right.
They put videos about, I don't know, the craziest things out there, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's there. But then why it is important to talk about secrecy is because if we don't, balance it, we will actually be guilty of violating the teachings of Jesus Christ. So
Right.
let me bring a few scripture portions from the Bible. It says in Matthew chapter 6, 3 and 4, but when you give to the poor, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. In other words, when you're giving to someone in need, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So give your gifts in private, and your Father who sees everything will reward you. So Jesus brings this concept of secrecy in giving. We can talk. So we have been talking on spiritual disciplines in the last few episodes here.
Right.
This falls into one of those personal disciplines which a person can follow in their life. So let me just start by defining what the secrecy is all about. So secrecy has to be something where consciously refraining from having our good deeds and qualities generally known, which in turn rightly disciplines our longing for recognition.
Right.
Right? So we all as a humans have a longing to be recognized. I don't know how many times I encounter this where somebody would say that they were not appreciated enough, or as they thought they will be appreciated. But then secrecy disciplines us to basically constrain or restrain that longingness to be recognized, right? In the sense
Right.
this refraining us from proclaiming the good deeds and the qualities.
Like showing off.
Showing off. But it's countercultural.
Right.
So, if you know that bragging and showing off is the norm, right? People want to brag and show off everything, like the car, the house, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes the secrecy is also referred as the closet Christianity. Right?
Yeah.
So, a balance between secrecy and not secret is very important. Right? You can't be completely secret and get inside a room and sit there. But at the same time, you have to be very clear. Because intentions and motivations behind sharing something matters. Why are you trying to share? A lot of times, when people, they get into what is called as testimonies, and they say, and basically it's bragging about a lot of things. They're not giving glory to God, but it's more glorifying themselves. So that's where the issue really gets into. So now the important question is, do we have things which are hidden from people in our lives, or are we an open book? We need to be an open book, but at the same time, when it comes to deeds we do for the Lord and honoring God. So the spiritual discipline of secrecy means choosing to do something in secret without expecting anything else in return. So we are not expecting anyone to give us anything. But this involves quietly and faithfully doing the work of God without informing others, without shouting from the housetops about our good deeds.
Usually when we do something, we expect them to return what we like.
Also, we expect people to know, like Facebook.
Yeah.
I volunteered here, I did this thing, I did that thing, but
Yeah.
this is counter to that. The great philosopher, writer, Dallas Willard has said something like this, He talks about, in his book, The Spirit of the Disciplines, that one of the greatest fallacies of our faith, and actually one of the greatest acts of unbelief, is the thought that our spiritual acts and virtues need to be advertised to be known.
Right.
The frantic effort of religious personages and groups to advertise and certify themselves is a stunning revelation of their lack of substance and faith. So I think he nailed it. He nailed it, because when we feel insecure, we feel like people are not recognizing us, we are actually kind of diverting from what God, is that overall reliance and trust upon God. So that needs to be tackled. So that's what I would say. Secrecy is very important, because it's a discipline which Bible talks about, but we live in a world where it's very difficult, but we need to really think and evaluate what are those areas where we need to practice secrecy.
So you started talking about secrecy and giving. How do we practice, how do we practice secrecy and giving?
Yeah, it is what the verse we have read, Matthew
Right.
6:4 says, right? So Jesus says, be careful not to practice to be seen by others.
Right.
So there is always this temptation to be seen by others.
You want to show everyone you're giving.
Show off. Reward is not, the risk is not that you will not have any reward in heaven.
Right.
So it's like, you already got your reward while, here. So we should not have the urge to make it known to others or to be known by others.
Right.
But we live in a world which is like, I know it's very countercultural. Many years ago, I wrote an article about that self-promotion contradicts biblical teaching. It's still there in my blog. Maybe I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Right. But then we live in a world where sometimes it's the pattern of the world. I remember many years, some years ago, when somebody asked me to come and speak in a meeting, and they asked me for my picture. I said, no, why do you need a picture? He said, that's the format, that's the style, that's the norm for today. But nowadays, nobody cares. Everybody wants to put their picture. But what I'm trying to say is, we have moved on, sorry, and we have come to a level where we are, showing off,
Right.
even in giving. So I think that this is very important, that when we are giving, do not show your acts of charity in front of others or display it in front of others to get appreciation from others. So that's why Jesus said, when you give, your left hand should not know what your right hand is doing. That's very difficult, because your hands go together.
Right.
And so that means you need to be very careful that you are not advertising what you're doing to others.
So another area we can practice secrecy is in prayer. So how would we practice secrecy in prayer?
Yeah, it is again the same thing. Matthew 6:6 says, when you pray, shut your door or go to your closet and pray. So there, Jesus was talking about the private prayers. And during those days, this Pharisees and the other people, right, they were called as hypocrites by Jesus, So basically what they used to do is they used to stand in the marketplace and do long prayers to be seen by men. So if you really look at it, whom are we praying to? We are praying to God.
Right.
But then we try to display, and that happens even today too. Many people, when they're praying in public, they pray with beautiful words and as if they are giving a speech. The prayer sounds like a speech.
Right.
Have you ever heard something like that? Where they want to really beautify everything, because they
want to make it sound good.
Yeah,
in front of
internally
people.
the target is not
to pray to
God, but it is more like,
They want people
sound well in front of others. So that's definitely an area where I think we need to practice. So I think the practical tip here is, do you have secret prayers?
Right.
Which is not seen by other people, right? That's a question. If our answer is we don't have secret prayers, all our prayers are in front of others, I think we are missing this secrecy in prayer. We need to figure out some time where we are praying alone and we are praying to our Father in heaven. So I think it goes to that level where I would say it's absolutely important to practice secrecy in prayer.
So, what is another area we should practice secrecy in?
Yeah, the same chapter talks further about fasting.
Fasting.
Yeah, it says that when you fast, do not make it obvious for others. Others should not look at you and say, "Oh, wow, this guy is fasting." A lot of times people advertise, 7-day fasting, 10-day fasting, 21-day fasting, 40-day fasting, And if they are advertising it for bringing people and all, it's okay. But then a lot of times it's all about just letting people know that,
that we're fasting and you're not,
Yeah, and Jesus actually says, no, that's not going to work out. This is not, helpful. So we need to be very, very, very careful about that too. So giving, prayer, fasting, all these disciplines, we need to be careful that we are not practicing things to be seen by men, but we are, doing it in secrecy. And Bible actually teaches. And this is part of the Beatitude, the Sermon on the Mount, the Matthew 5, 6, 7. And those are very critical teachings which Jesus told, and Jesus was actually telling. So that's why we need to, I think, see this as a discipline.
So what are some practical ideas you can share about secrecy?
Yeah, so practically I would say, especially when it comes for prayer, have some spiritual times which are to one audience.
Right.
So one audience, what does it mean is just to God. So that's all about it. You're not in the crowd or in the congregation or anything like that, but you're all alone. So that's number one. So practice secret prayer. Number two, do charity or something which is not revealed to others.
Right.
Do something which nobody knows.
Right. You're not just doing it to show people.
Yeah, true. And then practically maybe clean something where nobody is seeing. Sometimes, I've seen let's say people go to church or something and there is something needs to be clean. So they wait for others to come and then clean. So No, so do it when nobody is seeing.
Right.
So have this intention that when I'm doing something for the Lord, I want nobody else to see it, because Bible actually tells then there is a reward, right?
Right.
Then the other thing is do things that cannot be returned by the receivers. A lot of times, if you're giving a gift to your friend, your friend can give you a gift back.
Yeah.
But then look for opportunities where the other person doesn't have the ability to give you, or they don't have the capacity to give you, in the sense look for opportunities. Maybe give something to a homeless person. Whatever it is. So look for such opportunities where the receiver is not able to give you back. And then the other thing is refrain from telling everything you know, right? You should not be telling everything in a sense as if we are smart.
Yeah.
Then we need to celebrate other people without talking about our own. So I heard a story of a funny story. There was this special felicitation ceremony happening to appreciate someone for some academic achievement.
Right.
So this person labored, I don't remember what the exact achievement was, but it was something really very good in academics. And so they invited a lot of people, and there was a chief guest and everyone. So when the chief guest came and he started speaking, he basically spoke about himself, trying to prove that what the chief guest has done was better than the person who was there to be appreciated.
Right.
Maybe it was better, but still that's not the occasion. The occasion was to appreciate the other person. So basically, a lot of times we have to refrain ourselves from this temptation to basically talk about our own achievements when we are appreciating somebody else. So I think that is an important thing to have. So as I said, have secret prayer, basically have the audience of one. Do things which is not known or revealed to others. Clean something or do something where nobody is actually seeing you. Or wait for somebody to actually leave before you do something.
Right.
Right. do things which cannot be returned back by the receivers, and refrain from telling others about how great you are. And then, whenever you're celebrating with someone, focus on that person's achievement and not, try to inject your achievements and your viewpoints into all those areas.
So, what are your final thoughts about this whole topic?
Yeah, I think this is a simple topic, but very tough in today's world.
Yeah.
Practicing secrecy, it's not easy. It's easily
Right.
said than done.
In this world, like you show everything to everyone.
Yeah, actually, we were doing audio podcast, and we realized that it's not helping much. That's why we were forced to get into this video format, right?
Yeah.
But there are things where the world works in that way, but there are other things where we need to, when it comes to spiritual discipline, we need to practice.
All right.
As we are going to conclude, I want to read something again from the book I referred earlier from Dallas Willard. In this episode, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the spirit of disciplines. I want to read that, in that it says, he writes, one of the greatest fallacies of our faith, actually one of the greatest acts of unbelief, is the thought that our spiritual acts and virtues need to be advertised to be known. The frantic effort of religious personages and groups to advertise and certify themselves is a stunning revelation of their lack of substance and faith. Now, secrecy rightly practiced enables us to place our public relations department entirely in the hands of God, who lit our candle so we could be the light of the world, not so we could hide under a bushel. That's coming from Matthew 5:14-16. Now we allow him to decide when our deeds will be known and when our light will be noticed. Secrecy, as its best, teaches love and humility before God and others, and that love and humility encourages us to see our associates in the best possible light, even to the point of our hoping they will do better and appear better than us. It is actually becomes possible for us to do nothing out of selfish ambition,
Right.
or vain conceit, but in humility consider others better than ourselves, as it states in Philippians chapter 2:3. And then he further says, and what a relief that can be if you want to experience the flow of love as never before. The next time you are in a competitive situation, pray that the others around you will be more outstanding, more praised, and more used of God than yourself.
You want you're hoping
really,
for the good of them.
really pull for them and rejoice at their success. If Christians were universally to do this for each other, the earth would soon be filled with the knowledge of God's glory. So the discipline of secrecy can lead us into this sort of a wonderful experience. That's what he says. Now, he makes a very important point. A lot of times, let's say we are somewhere. So I will tell you one example. Once I was going to speak in a conference with many speakers. So what is our default prayer? Lord, use me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then when I was praying for that one day, the Lord emphasized in my heart something like, why do you want just you to be used? Yeah, unintentionally, sometimes a thought comes, my message or what I do should be the best.
Yeah.
But then that puts us in a place where we actually may end up deciding that others should not do well.
Yeah. You
Because
want yours to be good and others not.
Yeah, so that's why you have to change your mind where you need to actually pray that others should be doing good. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate purpose, right? And
We're
we
all
need
working together.
Yeah, we need to enjoy that experience, but many times that's not what happens. So there are many areas in our life and opportunities in our life where we could actually become intentional about this thing and say, well, to me, it's more about seeing others succeed than me. But but for that to happen, it has to be a lot of humbling experience. We have to really surrender a lot in the presence of the Lord, right? It's not easy, as I said earlier.
Yeah. Especially in this generation. It's not easy.
Oh yeah, and that's the world teaches, the culture teaches us that you need to be the best. Now the question is, would you get into this practice where you would allow others to excel?
Right. So thank you for sharing. And today we talked about a very interesting topic, something that's not like really talked about in these days, but secrecy in our different spiritual disciplines. Like usually we show what we do. If we give something to someone, we're like, oh, I gave this, but like secrecy, and we're not hiding, because Bible says we'll be rewarded if we do these things in secrecy. So thank you for sharing. I hope all our viewers understood what this episode was about, and I hope all of us practice it in our lives. So thank you for sharing. As we said in the beginning, Thriving Talk is available on all the different platforms like Spotify, Google Podcast, YouTube, and many other platforms. So follow or subscribe to Thriving Talk on your favorite platform, so you can know when the new episodes come out. Also remember that my dad has a monthly newsletter that comes out, and in that he shares a lot of good information.
Thriving newsletter.
So the link to that will be in the show notes. Feel free to subscribe to that. So thank you all for listening to this episode. May God bless you all, and let us try to use a secrecy in our personal lives, and God bless you all.
Thank you. Until we come back again, be safe, and may God guide you and lead you. Thank you.